I call to order the meeting of the Centralina Regional Council Executive Board. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Just to note, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on Centralina's YouTube channel. To help us move through the agenda efficiently, please remain muted except for making a motion, a second, voting, or posing a question or comment. Be sure to state your name for the record when making a motion, a second, or when speaking. We've been monitoring attendance as board members have joined Zoom. In the interest of time, we will not call the names of board members participating via computer since your names were recorded when you logged into the meeting and are displayed on the participant list. Kelly will call the names of board members whose names are not shown on the list. Names will be called in alphabetical order by last name. I'll now ask the clerk, Kelly Weston, to call the roll.
Karen Alexander, Peter Asciuto, Brittany Barnhart, Martha Sue Hall, Jean Haupt.
I'm here.
Thank you. Bob Hovis, Pedro Mori, Christine Poinsett, Elaine Powell, Jennifer Stepp, and again, if you did not hear your name called, it's because we are able to see you listed on the participant list. And Mr. Chairman, it looks like we are just one short of quorum.
Okay. We'll have, we were scheduled to have 4 motions on some agenda items, so we will continue on without the call the roll and motions. So if Kelly, if someone logs in the next little bit, we'll back up and start over.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. We do anticipate that there are a few others who might be joining us a little bit late. They had indicated that they were planning to attend, so it may just be that we're just waiting on a few folks to still join the call.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I can continue on with. If we now just have a moment of silence, please. Let's pause just for a moment, please. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue on. If we end up not having a quorum, we'll just, all this will be received as information, and we'll have to do this at a later date. I got some comments on the consent agenda. I hope everyone had a chance to look over the agenda for tonight's meeting. Several items on the consent agenda I will explain. And there are 4 contracts, so we'll bring a combined total of approximately $1.5 million of revenue to Centralina. These include 2 contracts with North Carolina Association of Regional Councils of Government. One is for Centralina to provide American Rescue Plan Act support services. The other is for Centralina to provide disaster recovery and resilience support. There's a grant agreement with UNC Asheville for Centralina to provide chronic disease self-management education programs. There's an agreement with the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative for Centralina to administer home-based falls prevention services. We also have a request to renew the contract of Leslie Mazingo and Strategic Consulting for lobbying and federal relations consulting services. There's a contract for audiovisual equipment at the new Centralina office. There's an amendment to the current fiscal year's budget. There's also the annual request to authorize the Finance Committee to approve the final FY22 budget amendment on behalf of the Executive Board. And lastly, the minutes of the April Executive Board meeting. And Kelly Weston, we do not have a quorum, so I cannot ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Powell is just joining us, so that would give us quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, welcome. Thank you so much. So we do have a quorum. So those who have heard these comments regarding the consent agenda and with no amendments to the agenda may have a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, this
Mr.
is
Chairman, Gene Howe makes that motion.
Seconded.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion. Darrell Henry.
Mayor Henn and Commissioner Howe, thank you. Have a motion and a second. We'll now ask our clerk, Kelly Weston, to call the roll. Those in favor, say yes. Those opposed, please say no.
Bobby Thompson,
Yes.
Kathy Davis,
Yes.
Larkin Eggleston,
yes,
Daryl Hinnant,
Yes.
Gene Help,
Yes.
Corinthia Lewis Lemon,
Yes.
Elaine Powell,
yes,
Lynn Shu,
Yes.
Amelia Simpson Wesley,
Yes.
David Williams,
yes,
Travis Woodburn.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that motion did pass.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. That'll move us right on to agenda item 10. On a regular business item, look at your agenda, page 3, in FY23 compensation recommendations. Executive Board is asked to review and approve the annual proposal for staff salary adjustments for FY23. I'll now recognize our Executive Director, Geraldine Gardner.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Hope everyone can hear me. Before I get into the details of our recommendation to you tonight for compensation for next fiscal year, I'd just like to go through a few background points and share with the Executive Board our current pay and classification study that is ongoing. Kelly, can you go to the next slide? So like many local governments across our region, across the state, and across the country, we are all struggling with high staff turnover. We're struggling with pay ranges that in many cases have not been up to market standards for quite some time. And because we are a local government, we aren't always able to increase our salaries and wages on an ongoing basis in time with market and in response to inflation and changing cost of living. So Centralina in many ways is not different from a lot of other local governments and organizations that are facing this condition. And I know all of you have gone through or in the process of going through your own budgeting situations right now and are faced with these issues in real time. Centralina last did a pay and classification study 5 years ago. Our pay ranges have not adjusted since that time, so they're not reflective of the current market. Our organization typically hires to the minimum of a pay range regardless of experience. And as you know, being on our executive board, we provide between 2 to 3% each year for annual increases. At least that's been our track record for the last approximately 8 years. And that's not always in keeping with the cost of living nationwide. Next slide. So in light of that, we began a pay and classification study in December of this year, working with a national firm, Siegel, based out of Washington, D.C., that does pay and class studies with councils of government and larger organizations across the country. Our goals are stated here on the slide. We want to make sure our compensation structure supports our organization and it maintains our competitiveness. We hope the recommendations address any inequities or salary compression. And ultimately, what we're hoping to do through the study is to create career pathways in our department so that our team who works so hard understand what their pathway of advancement is within the organization and within their department. Next slide. Our current progress on the study, we're almost done. We've done the traditional steps this spring in terms of creating the new class structure and job titles. We are in the process of completing the market assessment and working with some of our peer organizations across the country. By this summer, we'll be moving into the total compensation analysis and developing recommendations, both our pay ranges and then where our current team fits on top of those pay ranges. So we're in a little bit of a challenging situation in that our current environment demands, and it's I think our responsibility as an organization to make an initial compensation adjustment for our team at the start of the fiscal year. But we also are aware that this process is ongoing and looking at the bigger picture. So our approach to this is to kind of have a two-phased process. And this is our recommendation to you tonight. So Kelly, you can go to the next slide. So the first phase of our recommendation is a 5% across the board increase for all positions. This is comparable to councils of government across the state. The average is about 5%, including our closest peers, TJCOG and Piedmont Triad. It's also comparable to the Social Security increase for this year. And I think most compelling, this is, yes, a larger move than we typically make on an annual basis for Centralina. It's going to help be that initial down payment with moving our salaries closer to market. So the good news is that we can accomplish this within our current fiscally constrained environment, primarily because Centralina can charge up to 94% of this total cost to state and federal grants. The balance is carried by those positions that are funded out of membership dues. So that's the first phase of this that we are recommending. The second phase, we've created a reserve pool in our budget for additional adjustments that would be made following the conclusion of the pay and class study. That reserve pool will be used to help make the initial implementation of the study recommendations and account for any performance adjustments from the end of this fiscal year. So of that reserve pool, again, we're drawing down mostly from our state and federal grants. So Denise, our finance director, is on the line, that we are presenting this to you as something that's fully funded in our FY23 budget. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate the board's endorsement of this very much needed investment in our fantastic team that does incredible work on behalf of your communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Any questions for our Executive Director regarding this, with item 10, this request? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Halp, I'll be glad to make the motion to approve this request when you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Chairman, this is Lynn Shue. I'll second the motion.
Wow, that was quick. I was just going to make a comment to our Executive Director regarding it's comparable to other costs. I think as local governments, city or county that we have in our region, that's what we do is look and see what our neighbors, see what everyone else is doing, because we want to retain our employees. We want to stay pretty much even across the board with everyone. I think that's what this Centralina Regional Council has done with the other COGS in the state. So we also, I'll read the motion. So Commissioner Halp, hang on just a second. So I need a motion to approve the FY23 compensation approach, which includes a 5% across the board increase with a minimum increase for eligible employees and a reserve pool of $169,000 to implement recommendations from the pay and classification study. Commissioner Halp, go ahead.
So moved. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you. And second? Mr. Shue?
I'll second it. This is Commissioner Powell.
Yeah, this is Lynn. I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
And I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So before we move forward, I'm in support of this, but I'd like to have more of a description from Geraldine about how she's going to address compression again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Powell. This is it's an issue that's top of mind for me when it comes to understanding where we are once the recommendations come out for the study. We have had turnover at Centralina, like many organizations, over the last 18 to 24 months. largely pandemic driven, but also for many other factors. So we've had to do a lot of new hiring, and to be competitive in this marketplace, you need to bring people in sometimes at a higher salary. So I'm very aware that this is likely an issue for many of our staff members in current positions. Once we get the recommendations back from Siegel, it will include an analysis of how we can address this through the recommendations. And we will definitely be taking that into consideration when we make the first round of investments in phase 2.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. And Ms. Gardner, just one clarification. You say the last study was 5 years ago? Is that correct?
About 5 years ago, yeah.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I think it's time. It's time we do something for the employees here at Centralina. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. All in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, say no. Kelly West.
Bobby Compton,
Yes.
Kathy Davis,
Yes.
Larkin Eggleston,
Yes.
Daryl Hennett,
Yes.
Dean Halp,
Yes.
Corinthia Lewis Lemon,
Yes.
Lane Powell,
Yes.
Lynn Shu,
Yes.
Amelia Simpson Wesley,
Yes.
David Williams,
Yes.
Jarvis Woodburn.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that motion did pass.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Now bring your attention to agenda item 11, the Federal Relations Update. This is the most exciting part of our agenda because I know that Leslie Mazinga is going to be wide open. She's got a lot of ground to cover here. So Leslie Mazinga, I'll turn it over to you for the Federal Relations Update.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. No pressure, huh, to keep it interesting. But I thank you very much for that. As always, you all have in your packet the report for April and May of this year. That is in addition to the annual report that was included with the consent item. And I'd like to thank all of you for that vote of confidence to continue the advocacy work that we're doing. So thank you for that renewal. I'm very, very grateful for that. And what you're going to see is that we continue to make progress. A couple of things that I want to highlight for you. So moving up into the April-May timeline, the thing that we had been spending a lot of time on is the appropriations work. It's appropriations season in Washington, and there's a lot of deadlines and things that need to be done to get in the game, if you will. And we have two first times for Centralina this year, which is really exciting. One is we have sponsored by Congresswoman Alma Adams, a $1 million request for a housing initiative, affordable housing initiative that Geraldine and Christina did an amazing job putting together. There's a certain element of what I do, but it all starts with a good idea and a good proposal. And so for the first time, we have congressionally directed spending or community project funding, depending on if you're House or Senate, what you're talking about, pending in the appropriation bills. And then in addition to that, we also had for the first time, one of our regional representatives, Congressman Ted Budd, offered and took the lead on organizing a letter for our annual appropriations language that gives due diligence to regional councils when considering competitive grants. And for the first time, we have a joint bipartisan letter that went to all 7 relevant subcommittees. We've usually been able to get maybe 4 of them, something like that, out of the ones we targeted, but they took the initiative with the help of again, Congressman or Congresswoman Alma Adams has been involved with that as well, along with Congressman Richard Hudson. So making, like I said, the bipartisan support in the 7 subcommittees. I want to remind everybody, if you're tracking the bipartisan infrastructure law, that a lot of those programs are still new. And so they are going through the process of request for information as they develop the notice of funding opportunities. So they're starting to trickle out. There's a few that have come about, known as Safe Streets for All and Reconnecting Communities. And so we're starting to see little bits and pieces, but some of the others are still being developed. And we expect that to be really like, the proverbial drinking from a water hose come Q3 and Q4, because they really want to get these dollars into the system and start seeing some great projects move forward. We, as a result of all of the additional funding available, we actually moved from our regular twice a month to grants alerts that go to Centralina and are posted for membership review. That's actually now on a weekly basis. So I just want to remind everybody that those grants alerts of new notices of funding opportunity that have been posted are coming out every week, and they're out usually by noon on Thursdays. So if you want to put a reminder on your calendar or ask your staff to always be checking for that, that is part of the membership information that you'll be receiving. So things are moving along beautifully. We're excited about these new developments that are occurring these first times. And I'll pause there and see if there's any questions for me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leslie. Any questions for Leslie Masingo? Again, she's full of information. She's a great contact person for our representatives. Any questions or comments for her while we have her on the line? Proceed. Anything else? Leslie, anything else?
No, sir, unless folks have questions for me, but I'll also just remind everybody too, that if you don't always think of your questions on the evening like this, keep in mind, this is a resource and an investment by Centralina. If you have questions that come up, you're looking just for some general, hey, I heard this about what's going on at the federal level. Is this true? Or can you find out more information? I'm available on call to track these things down for you. So don't hesitate to shoot things my way when you have questions about something you've heard that might be happening at the federal level and you need more information. It's not just at these board meetings where you get these updates and et cetera. It is a service in terms of availability. It's usually under that last category called troubleshooting in terms of the performance metrics. So just keep in mind as members of Centralina that this is a service available to you.
Very good. And you do mention every time you are available, they could contact you through phone or email. So thank you for putting yourself out there. And everyone in your packet is the April and May 22 report and the Federal Relations Annual Report from July 21 through June 22. So a lot of good information from Leslie in your packet. It's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions before we ask for a motion regarding the Federal Relations update? Hearing none, I'll now ask the clerk to call the roll. As many of you in favor will say yes. Those opposed will say no. Kelly?
Chairman, we need a motion.
Commissioner Houp, make a motion to accept the Strategies Consulting Performance Report for April through May 2022 and the Federal Relations Annual Report for July 2021 through June 2022.
Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner.
Jarvis, I second.
Thank you, Mr. Woodburn. We have a motion and a second. Now I'll ask Kelly to call the roll. Those in favor say yes. Those opposed, please say no.
Lee Compton,
Yes.
Kathy Davis,
Yes.
Larkin Eggleston,
Yes.
Daryl Hennett,
Yes.
Dean House,
Yes.
Cynthia Lewis Lemon,
Yes.
Zora, let her out.
Elaine Powell,
Yes.
Lynn Chu,
Yes.
Amelia Simpson Wesley, David Williams,
Yes.
Jarvis Woodburn.
Yes.
Chairman, that motion did.
Thank you. Motion does pass. Thank you, everyone. Now direct your attention to item 12, strategic plan briefing. I'll now turn it over again to our Executive Director, Geraldine Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So where we last left this discussion was at our May Board of Delegates meeting, and just wanted to provide an update to the Executive Board. We're making steady progress and are definitely on track for submitting the full plan in August. So Kelly, you can go to the next slide, please. So one of the things that we talked about at both the April Executive Board and the May Board of Delegates meeting was our vision statement as an organization. And so we had presented some ideas, and there were two options. Kelly, you can click through that were generated as a result of that discussion. We took into the consideration the great feedback that we got from the board, both in April and in May, to arrive at these two options that you see here on the screen. Some of the feedback that was really important that we heard was this idea of Centralina being a connector and a collaborator across the region, that we're a trusted partner. A lot of the board members like the idea of Centralina as the heart of the region. So there were some really strong responses to the themes that you all had shared with us. So you see the two options presented here that tried to merge together that feedback with what we had before. I shared these options with our team last month and really asked them to weigh in. This is the vision that they need to be working towards, that they should be inspired by, that's obviously informed by your input. And next slide, Kelly. Our team overwhelmingly responded to the first option. So our vision, our working vision, of course, subject to your endorsement, Centralina is a collaborative organization and a trusted partner, leading the region, communities, and individuals towards a thriving future. Next slide, Kelly. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the vision elements and how they respond to us as an organization. So the first element is the idea of Centralina as a collaborative organization. So it's not just about collaboration with you, our members and stakeholders across the region. What's really important to me is that we're collaborative within Centralina, that we're leveraging all the unique talents and knowledge and skill sets that we have as an organization and bringing that to bear. And it doesn't really matter if you're in the finance department or if you're in planning or in aging. I really want to see our organization really working together and collaborating to do the best work on your behalf. Next little click. The second element is trusted partner. That really resonated with me when I heard that from all of you in the board. That trust is an important part of the value that you see in our organization, that we're representing the region fairly. It doesn't matter if you're the largest city or the smallest town, you all have an equal voice in how we run as an organization and the priorities that we have. So that's really the second pillar of our vision. And then the last one is what are we all working towards? We're working towards a thriving future, and that our work is really to inspire and guide, and that we're on that pathway to prosperity as a region, as communities, and as individuals. So that's where we are with the vision. Next slide, Kelly. So just to sum it all up, you see here our mission didn't change from the last time. We've added in a vision, and our culture and development team here within Centralina did a great job in refreshing and reinvigorating our core values. So you can see them listed here. It's the same acronym in terms of we lead in the way that we act with each other and our customers. There's just a little bit of wordsmithing happening in some of the bullets. And they also put together a great table with some representative behaviors and actions that really seek to represent these values. And I think that's an important tool that we can use as we move forward. So this is our foundation. And then building off of this foundation are a set of 4 strategic goals. Can you go to the next slide, Kelly? These goals, you've seen these before. There hasn't been much change, but they really respond to our levels of impact. So the first goal is about leading regional engagement to prepare, plan, and act on issues that respond to today's needs and tomorrow's opportunities. So this is really about the work that we do at the regional scale for a regional impact, and it's addressing what we have in front of us, but it's also looking ahead to tomorrow's opportunities. So Leslie mentioned grants and the bipartisan infrastructure law. Looking at regional coalitions to apply for some of these major grants is a way we could address this goal and really respond to the idea of tomorrow's opportunities. Next click, Kelly. The second goal is really lives in the world of our support to local governments. So equip local governments with information, resources, and technical assistance that enable them to do their best work. We're a helping hand to all of you and your team and your staff, and that's really what this goal is about. Next one. Our third goal is really focused on our services and assistance that we provide to individuals. And I hear whether it's David and Workforce or Linda and her team in Aging, this idea of person-centered services, that it's not about checking the box. It's really about what do individuals need to be successful, and how are we adapting our programs and services to meet them where they are. And so that's what really this goal is focused on. And then last but not least is our operations. So we're striving for organizational excellence by investing in our employees, promoting our work, and building efficient systems. So these are our 4 goals. And right now our departments are in the process of taking these big lofty ideas for multiple years and thinking about how do we operationalize that in the short term. So that's really the phase that we're at right now. Next slide, Kelly. Just to wrap up, I wanted to share a couple of priorities that I have for the coming year, and some of these will be multi-year initiatives. But since we're wrapping up the end of the fiscal year and about to start a new one, I want to take a moment to share from my point of view where we really need to be focusing our resources, primarily related to that last goal on operations. Thank you so much for endorsing our recommendations on the compensation. It's a really important down payment for our team, and our team and investing in talent is my #1 priority heading into the coming year. Coming out of COVID, there haven't really been a lot of opportunities for staff members to meaningfully engage in professional development and attend conferences, improve their networking. So really investing in that. It's an important investment in our team, in their professional development, and in their growing their talent so that they can apply that to the work that they do at Centralina. Part and parcel to that is succession planning. In light of the turnover that we have had, we can do a better job in strengthening our systems, making sure we've got a deep bench of talent that can step up and step in when the opportunity presents itself. Next slide. Another important set of priorities is around our organizational structure. So moving towards, like I had mentioned earlier, more career pathways, more leadership opportunities for members within the team, and having a little bit more of a structure to the organization that responds to our long-term interests. And really important part of that is building up our administration, finance, and our engagement capacity. For a long time, our departments have grown and responded, but our admin team and our finance team for an organization of our size is underserved, it's understaffed. And we need to make an investment of that, and that's something that's a priority for me in the coming years. And then lastly, in order to do that, we need to make sure we're doing what we can to expand our partnerships and bring new revenues into the organization. So the contracts that you all approved tonight, bringing over $1 million of new revenue into Centralina, that's the way that we do this. Not by asking you all for more money, it's by being entrepreneurial and going after new opportunities. So we're going to continue to push in that direction and offer more services and programs. So, of course, there's a lot more, but that's a really probably a good flavor for right now of what's important. So next steps, we're going to be finalizing the document, finalizing our work plan, and because this is a strategic plan for our bylaws, this will go to the Board of Delegates at the August meeting. So with that, that's all I've got, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Any questions or comments regarding item 12, strategic plan briefing? I think that was well put together, and that's a great presentation for our future. Any comments? Hearing none, if you notice in your agenda packet, this was for information only. However, I'd like to suggest that as a board, executive board, we take formal action to endorse this draft framework. Ms. Gardner has presented before it goes to the Board of Delegates in August. So with that, could I have a motion to endorse strategic plan draft framework?
Jarvis, I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lippman,
Frankie Lewis Lemon seconded.
thank you. I have a motion and a second. I'll now ask the clerk to call the roll. As many as in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, please say no. Kelly?
Bobby Thompson,
Yes.
Kathy Davis,
Yes.
Martin Eggleston,
Yes.
Daryl Hennett,
Yes.
King Houpt,
Yes.
Cynthia Lewis Lemon,
Yes.
Elaine Powell,
Yes.
Lynn Shu,
Yes.
Amelia Simpson Wesley, David Williams,
Yes.
Travis Woodburn.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That motion did pass.
Thank you. The motion passes. Ms. Gardner, I think that says a lot when we have a 100% vote for your strategic plan briefing. A lot of information, very well put together. Thank you so much. Everyone, that brings us to our close. So comments from the Board of Delegates and Centralina staff. We're well ahead of schedule. So anyone have any comments? Any Board of Delegate, executive board members or Centralina staff have any comments before we move on? Hearing none, comments from our executive director, Ms. Gardner.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm actually going to ask Linda too to chime in on something real quick. But before I have her do that, I just wanted to let the board know that we had a very successful day yesterday in Raleigh. Michelle Nance and Kelly Weston and I went up. We had 6 or 7 briefings. We met with Senator Sawyer, Senator Johnson, Senator Newton, and a few of our representatives. It was a great day to talk about Centralina and about some of our priorities. So I want to thank Kelly for her great job in coordinating that under the Raleigh Relations umbrella, and our consultants, Chris Wall and Andy Munn, were really instrumental for helping us navigate the changing schedules of Raleigh when it's in session. And speaking of Kelly, I want to share with the executive board some very exciting news for our tried and true, so fantastic clerk, Kelly Weston. Kelly is not leaving Centralina, thank God. She is transitioning into a wonderful new role in our government affairs and member engagement team. She will be full-time a game coordinator. She's been wearing 2 hats for the last 2 years, just doing incredible work for all of you, for our executive board, for our board of delegates, for our chairman, to make sure that you all have what you need to do this work and to serve in this capacity. I can't be more excited for her in this new role, to continue to work with our members, to lead our Raleigh relations effort, to work on grants, and to really hone her expertise in public affairs and administration. So we're really excited for Kelly. And I also want to introduce all of you this evening to Connor Toka, who's also making a transition at Centralina. He was on our community and economic development team. He works with our CEDD board, and Connor will be taking over as the clerk to the board effective July 1st. So I hope you all are as happy as I am for both Connor and Kelly, that we've been able to take 2 young, wonderful, smart individuals and move them up and within this organization. I think that's really what we're here to do. So with that, Linda, do you want to say a quick word about volunteers?
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank you.
Geraldine. Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. As most of you know, the last couple of years with COVID and the pandemic has been really, really difficult on long-term care facilities, our ombudsman, and so forth. In fact, it's only within the last year that most of the ombudsmen are back into the facilities with the transmission rates and so forth down in the communities. However, the last sort of holdout has been the Community Advisory Committee members. Those are appointed through your county commissioners, and they serve as volunteers that assist the ombudsman with friendly visits in the facilities. They go in group, sort of quarterly required visits to take a look at the facilities and sometimes help the ombudsman with basic concerns or issues. So they have not been back into the facilities as of yet. And we have received some guidance yesterday from the long-term care state ombudsman at North Carolina Division of Aging and Adult Services that they are now finalizing a reentry plan for those volunteers to go back into the facilities. It's out for our comment, but it's a very quick turnaround. So our ombudsman, Geraldine's looked at it. We're all looking at it, AAA directors, to give some comments in return. But they don't have an exact timeline yet. Geraldine and I just wanted you to be aware that they will back into the facilities, I'm sure, within the summer. It's already June. June will be over. So within the summer and going back in, there are some additional and specific training requirements and guidelines that will be put in place to make sure that everybody's as safe and as comfortable as possible. So feel free to touch base with me at any time. If you have any questions now, I'll be glad to take them.
Thanks, Linda. I appreciate you doing that on the fly. Mr. Chair, since we are in comments, I just wanted to see if Kelly wanted to share any parting words with the board. I know she stays in the background for these meetings, but I want her to have her moment in the spotlight.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you'll just entertain me for just a few seconds, I did just want to say to the board, I've worked with you all for a number of years, many of you for as long as I've been here at Centralina, and one of the things I know about elected officials is that you all have a tremendous amount of demands on your time. And so just the time that you all dedicate to Centralina, to attending our meetings, to coming to our events, just to carrying out your role as a delegate, it just really, you have no idea, it really means a lot. And so I'm always just really happy to see you all walk through the door or join one of our Zooms. And so I just want to thank you all for your time and your continued commitment and support of our organization. I thoroughly enjoyed being your clerk for the last several years, and I will definitely miss it, but I do look forward to continuing to working with you all in a new capacity. So just thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
And Mr. Chair, since we will be in person again in August for the Board of Delegates meeting, provided Kelly will want to attend the second Wednesday of the month meeting after she's no longer clerk, we'll celebrate her with the full board at that time.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Thank you. On my closing comments before we adjourn, I just want to say, God, Kelly, I'm almost sitting here ready to cry. Even though you're not leaving Centralina, you have done so much to help me in this role as chair. You're just probably the brightest young lady I've ever met in my life, and you just do a great job. But I wish you well. However, let me give Connor a little credit. Mayor Atkins is the chair of the Centralina EDC part of arm of this organization, and he called before this came about Kelly. He called Connor a rock star. He said, "Man, have you met Connor? He's a rock star. He's really doing a great job." So I welcome Connor to help me out, just like Kelly has helped me out, and all the other executive board and delegates that we have. So Connor, welcome. It's going to be a pleasure working with you. Thank you for setting me up here in the office. Doing a great job there. But Kelly, good luck in your new endeavor. I know you're not leaving. Thank goodness that you're still with us. Okay, and it's already been mentioned, another reminder, the next meeting of the Board of Delegates will be held on Wednesday, August the 10th at 5 o'clock at our new location. More to come on that. I'm sure Connor will be sending us information on that. I also want to go back to item 10 on our agenda, the compensation, well-deserved And thank you to all the Centralina staff. It's well deserved. And I think our executive board means that. I want to speak for everyone by saying that, because it's quick. We barely got that out of our mouth, and boom, we had a motion and a second to approve that agenda item. That tells you, Ms. Gardner and staff, how much this executive board, what you mean to us and the work that you do, the tremendous work you do. Linda Miller's still on the line. I still see her. Linda, you're aging. You're just up and running all the time. Y'all are tops in the state for what you do in aging. And I mean, we're all getting older, and there's a lot of people to take care of in the aging department, and you and your staff do a great job with that. I know many of them, and y'all are just wonderful also. And then also, sadly, not only Kelly, but sadly, I have resolutions for outgoing executive board members, and I would like to read. I don't think Councilman Morgan is with us, is he, Kelly? I have one for William Morgan from the city of Statesville, but I do want to read this one for my friend. Resolution honoring outstanding public service to Larkin Eggleston, June the 8th, 2022. Whereas Larkin Eggleston has dutifully served on the Centralina Regional Council Board of Delegates and Executive Board since 2018, serving on the nominating committee and championing many organizations, projects, and initiatives. And whereas Larkin Eggleston, through exemplary leadership in 2 terms as a Charlotte City Council member, has given great voice to issues in which he believes. And whereas during his tenure on this Charlotte City Council, Larkin Eggleston helped to advance transportation, housing, historic preservation, and environmental initiatives that would improve quality of life, preserve the community's rich history and natural resources. And whereas Larkin Eggleston has a history of dedicated public and community service, providing insightful leadership and support to many other organizations, including the North Carolina League of Municipalities Board of Directors, the Preservation of North Carolina Board of Directors, and the North Carolina Advisory Committee of the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition. And whereas Larkin Eggleston has been a pillar of the community for many years, advocating for the most pressing public policy priorities identified by the Centralina region. Now therefore be resolved on this 8th day, June 2022, Larkin Eggleston is deemed by the officers and board of Centralina Regional Council, the executive director, Centralina staff, and countless others as a remarkable example of dedication to public service and commitment to North Carolina local government. Councilman Eggleston, the city of Charlotte's going to miss you, and Centralina Regional Council will miss you. I keep up with you on the news and in the paper, everything you're doing, and you are out there for the city of Charlotte and this region, and you will be missed. I guarantee it. I promise you that. So,
thank you, my friend.
Yes,
most
sir.
people don't get to hear their own obituary, but that sounded pretty good. Miss you guys too, but I'm not going far.
Good. That's good to hear. And I used to see you at conferences. I come up and speak to you, and you tell me what's going on, and I just see you around. You're full of information. I like what's going on in the city of Charlotte, because what happens there affects the region around you, which is us, which is these other 8 counties out of Charlotte and Mecklenburg.
Well, we can always meet up for a whiskey. I don't have to be an elected official for us to do that.
Don't tell everybody. That'll be all right. Okay, well, good. Well, good luck to you, and stay in touch, and we'll see you around. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
And don't I have a few more meetings before y'all boot me off?
I hope so. I hope you do. Yeah, I just want to get and read that waiting while we're here.
Okay. I think my term ends on September 6th on the city council. So
we'll see you in August. See you in person in August, and we'll hand this thing to you. How about that? Or I'll read it again. I don't mind. Thank you. Okay, we've reached the end of our agenda, and we're way ahead of schedule. I thank you for everyone for attending. I know further business come before the board. I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everybody.